theatre, film, TV and more. Suzy Wrong reviews it all on Joy Drive.
Good afternoon, Suzy Wrong.
Warren, it's December.
I know.
It's the end of the year. Have you had a good 2024?
Do you want me to be authentic with you, Suzy?
Always.
No, it's been horrible, to be honest. I mean, everything's good here and with myself. But no, because my mother had the stroke and got dementia, and I lost my doggy. So no, bad year. I'm looking forward to next year. How about
I'm
you?
sure it'll be much better next year.
Yeah, I reckon too. I reckon too. But at least we've got joy.
We've got joy, we've got each other, we've got Tuesday chat.
Yeah. Exactly. No, it's that time of year. We were never a big Christmas family, to be honest. And it's just, for me, it's getting some time off and relaxing.
Yeah, I like
eating.
being a little bit sentimental at this time of year. I like kind of reflecting back a little bit, kind of taking stock of the year. Yeah.
I mean, I'm certainly not in a, if you'd have asked me, would I be in this position now, if you asked me that last year, I would have said, what? No, that's too much. That's not going to happen. But that's what life does, doesn't it? Presents challenges.
Yeah, it's constantly challenging, but also you grow with it and you become, something that I always talk about is how you just get stronger and then you're able to deal with things better, deal with more things because they inevitably happen to you. But you've got a new dog, haven't
I know, and he's absolutely gorgeous. He's absolutely beautiful. It doesn't replace the old one, but is an additional bit
It's
of
a new
company.
blessing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, I suppose, going from one end of the spectrum where, Fuzzy was quite old and slow, which is fine, as he aged, to the other end, where I've got this ball of energy that I've forgotten what it was like because it's 16 years since I've had a puppy, and things are being destroyed. And I just, let it go. It doesn't matter if they're your
Do you have a Christmas tree up?
No, if I had a Christmas tree today, I'm going to go home tonight to stuffed toys that have been ripped apart. My house looks like a Christmas set with all this white fluff everywhere. It's amazing, but I love it. It's completely different.
Well, I've had a great year.
Yeah, what? Tell us about you.
Thank you for asking. Well, I bought my home.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm overjoyed about being a little homeowner. And I never thought it would happen to me. And it happened really out of the blue. It was, if you believe in Chinese astrology as I do, it's more superstition than anything. It wasn't meant to be a great year, but it's turned out to be a really good year. So I'm very happy.
Are you going to celebrate Christmas in your house? Do you celebrate Christmas, Suzy?
I've always celebrated Christmas at my home, but this year, being unusual that I bought my home and my best friends bought his home.
Oh, same year.
Yeah, same year. We're celebrating at his place because he's a much better cook than I am. And he's got an actual kitchen and everything. So for the first time, we're having Christmas at my best friend's home, which is going to be great. And then New Year's Eve at my home.
Oh, and have you got a view?
I've got a view of beautiful trees, and I'm not sure if I've got the right side of the city, but we'll see if we see any of the fireworks.
It sounds like a fantastic night.
It's all very grown up. Christmas at my best friend's home, and New Year's Eve at my home.
I love it. So this is the first time you've had Christmas outside your house?
Yeah, for a long time, and I'm looking forward to it. It feels like a new chapter, that my best friend especially has always had a chip on his shoulder about not owning his place, and he's in his late 40s. So this year he finally bought his place, and I got my place. Just really weird. It's just a really weird coincidence. Like, even just last year this time, we never thought it would ever happen to us. We thought we'd die renters, and it's just happened to us. And I hope this is a bit of an uplifting story, and it gives you a bit of hope. Sometimes it comes out of nowhere, much as you long for it, and much as you can't see how it's going to happen. And we are very used to life just kind of giving out lemons, and you've got to make lemonade. But once in a while, something wonderful happens, and I'm rejoicing this year.
So, Suzy, congratulations again. Interestingly, one of our listeners texted on Friday and said, can you play this particular track? Because I've just bought my own house out in Viewbank. So maybe, it's good. Maybe it's the year of the house.
Well, for some of us, I'm sure some people are still waiting, but that's the old cliche, isn't it? Don't give up hoping.
Absolutely not. Suzy, today, or actually before we go, you know what I love about Christmas? The lights. I just like the lights. I always have liked the colours. I don't know why. Just the lights.
Because you're gay?
Maybe. I don't know. My parents, when I was little, used to take us down to the boulevard in Kew, and we would walk along and watch the lights. I went down there last year, I think, or the year before, and there wasn't much there, and it was kind of a bit disappointing. But I remember in the 70s and 80s, like almost every house had these amazing lights.
This is one of the things that I loved about Christmas in Singapore. They had no consideration about how much energy you'd use up. and the whole shopping district would be lit up like it's trying to be Las Vegas. And when I was there 2 weeks ago, it was just that way. Extremely colorful, extremely extravagant, just, maybe 2-3 kilometers of just lights everywhere. It was fabulous.
Do you think in Singapore it's the lights that attract the people to it, the colour, rather than the rest of the festivities? What's the reason? What's the attraction?
Well, I think it's Singaporeans respond really well to commercialization. we just love shopping. It's become something that feels like it's in your blood almost. Like, you give us a reason to shop, a reason for a sale, a reason to just spend like crazy for a few weeks. We do it, and Christmas has always been that way for me. Or growing up in Singapore, you just go and just buy stuff, and I think over here there's much more of a consciousness about wastage and being good for the environment and things like that. But in Singapore, we kind of don't really think of it that way. You just think, it's the end of the year, you've worked hard all year, you have a bit of money, or you've saved a bit of money, and this is the time to splurge. And that's that's what Christmas means to me. It still does.
Suzy, today we're talking about something. Now, I said on Binge before, but I'm wrong. It was on Stan. It is called Nugget is Dead. What's it about? Tell us, Suzy.
Steph is moving up in the world. She's a trainee dermatologist in the big smoke of Sydney and is dating a guy who lives a posh North Shore life. At the start of the new Australian film Nugget is Dead, A Christmas Story, now streaming as a Stan original, Steph tells her psychologist that she's decided not to go home at all this Christmas, choosing to spend time instead with her boyfriend's family in the affluent suburb of Mosman. Her plans are disrupted, however, when she receives a call about her dog Nugget being ill. Left with no choice, Steph takes a trip down south to her own family home in case she has to say goodbye to Nugget, but still hopes to make it back to Sydney for Christmas celebrations at her boyfriend's home. We soon see what Steph is escaping, a cringe-worthy, unsophisticated lifestyle with aspirations that are quite different from Steph's new interest in things like boxy blazers and therapy. There is, however, a lot of love there in the South Coast, which of course is not surprising, for this is after all a festive movie. For cynics like myself, I usually write off that sentimentality by thinking, those people must be close-minded, conservative types that have made things hard for Steph, who we know to be bisexual. But when she meets a hot lady vet, it appears these suburbanites are not at all the churchy homophobic types we think to propagate those areas. Hot lady vet is much more appealing than the North Shore poshie, and we find ourselves rooting for a new relationship to replace something that clearly looks a bit phony and insincere. Luckily or unluckily, Nugget keeps having to return to the vet, so Steph can see what the viewers have known all along, and hopefully leaves the boy to go with the girl. Nugget is Dead, A Christmas Story is thankfully not overly earnest, as many holiday movies tend to be. Its characters and dialogue are playfully conceived, and I found myself laughing quite a lot through Steph's amusing journey back at her hometown. Warren, where did you grow up, and did you ever make a big escape?
I grew up in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne with my parents, who still live in the family home. They will not move, which is good. That is their choice. And did I ever make an escape? I escaped to London for a little while, but then I came back straight away.
How long were you there for?
I was there for about almost 6 months.
Did you had any surprising things that you learned about yourself and your home after being away?
You know what I did? I learnt, I missed home. I missed having my family around me. And also, there was something about, I don't know, I felt a little bit displaced. Like I probably wasn't there long enough to sort of feel like I belonged. But no, I'm close to my parents, and I missed being around them. And, you know, being the only kid left, I felt a responsibility to come back as well. So, and make sure that I was here. So, yes, I have, but very well rooted in Melbourne, I must say.
And you've lived there all your life, essentially.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I have essentially lived here. But Christmas movies, Suzy, just to go on to that, I found it a little bit annoying. I don't know if you found that side to it. I found it a little bit predictable in spots in terms of the humour. But having said that, I agree with you. I did laugh quite a lot. But what I did love about it, Suzy, and something I want to talk to you about, is it deals with the theme of, you know, not being able to say no and being a people pleaser. And, you know, she gets into a lot of strife because she's unable to say no to the different families and the pressure that it puts on you. And I like that. And I think the psychologist at one point in the series says, the people around you will make space for who you are. Don't worry about them. And I thought, wow, that's such a simple thing to say, but how wise.
Yeah, I did think that the film was enjoyable. I did understand that because they had to kind of have a marketable product presented as a Christmas film. I don't feel like it's very interested at all in Christmas. Like it was saying a lot about Steph's growth as you know, as a young adult, and I think that was the core of it, and that was kind of where it had substance. The Christmas stuff was kind of peripheral. I did think that it was a very young piece of writing, as the writers are. I kind of know them a little bit, Vic and Jen. They're extremely talented, but they're young, you know, so the jokes are really funny. The film's actually directed really well as well. But I did feel like they're trying to talk about how a person grows, but from a person who's in my 50s watching someone in their, I'm assuming, late 20s, it's not that much of growth. But, you know, it's good to see young people kind of trying to be in tune with that and trying to find, I think what the core of this film is trying to find what's important to them, right? Because she's kind of really overwhelmed a little bit by being a new city girl, right? She's exploring what's like to be living a kind of posh Sydney life, and kind of having this dream come true of becoming a doctor. So in a way, she's trying to become someone she isn't really, or
the family put the pressure on her too to be a doctor. Like, you could see the different judgments when she said she was a doctor. Oh, well, you know, great, you'll be a great girlfriend for our son. And then her family didn't really care.
Yeah, but that's the part about being in your 20s, and I think in your early 30s, for me anyway. You're trying to become someone, and you know that you have to be more than what you were, but you're kind of transforming into an unknown, and that process is really challenging, it's really difficult, much as people can explain to you what they've been through, or whatever books you can read about the subject. You kind of have to go through this process of transforming into the unknown, experiencing the unknown, and putting yourself through really challenging, difficult situations to learn what those things are, especially things that you observe to be desirable. Like, you're observing from the outside, oh, I want to be someone like that. I want to have a life that's something like that, that's so different from what I have grown up in, and then put yourself in that situation and be completely out of your comfort zone and being completely uncomfortable. But at some stage, you kind of have to look back and see how much of this is me, how much of this feels authentic for me, and how can I be in this new life without abandoning stuff from the past that are equally important. And she is going through this thing, I think.
And it's interesting too, because you know, sometimes our families cause a lot of pressure in terms of you know, what we do, what we are going to be, what career we have. I know, you know, my parents were, you know, adamant I was going to be a professional and nothing else. And then you know, but then I found it really difficult for that to become part of my identity, and I struggled with it. And then when you sort of give it up and think, oh, you know what, I've had enough, or I want to scale it down, you lose that, and you think, oh, who am I? What have I got in life? I knew I loved radio, but the rest of the identity is built up around what you do, which is not your authentic self. It's just something that you do.
Does that mean that the change in yourself is kind of affecting your family's idea?
No, I think they change as well. I feel like, well, certainly with my parents, they've changed as well. So it's almost like, I remember as a kid, my father said, there's no way you're going to work in radio. And so I was too scared to ever do it. And now they listen and they love it. So hello, if you're listening. So I think family change as well. And remember, I suppose, Suzy, when we were young, they were young too, really.
I know. I was just going to say.
They're not their age that they're at now and their maturity. So, and I probably would have made same sort of,
I often think about the things that my parents said to me, and I held as gospel for all these years, and I'm thinking, they were 27, 28, exactly. What did they know?
Exactly. That's right.
And I've held on to those things, like trying to adhere to those principles for so long, and then it takes so much work to be able to kind of get into your head and think, no, you can't take those things as 100% truth. You have learned so much more, and you have, like, that strange dream I had. My mother died when she was 43, and when I was 44, I had a dream that she had come to me, and sometimes I feel like they're not really dreams. I feel like she's kind of visiting me, right? And then she was again trying to make me kind of pick on me for something that I might have done wrong. And I turned to her and said, young lady, I'm older than you. You need to sit down and shut up.
But it's true. We think as kids they've got all the wisdom in the world, and somehow, I suppose, we see them now at whatever age they are.
Yeah.
And it's all, we sort of extrapolate that back to when we were a kid as if they were that wise, but they weren't.
Yeah.
We forget, though. That's hilarious.
And when I see my father now, he's 75. He's just turned 75. I was there for his birthday. And sometimes I look at the way he looks at me. I feel like there are two things happening. I feel like he's still looking at me like I'm the child that he needs to kind of control or teach or something. But at the same time, he's also looking at me thinking, wow, she's this person that, like, is way more than I understand, So there are these two things that are happening in this dynamic with a parent. Yeah. And I don't think it can never be an easy one. I've just accepted that it's always going to be a challenge, and I just have to make the best of it, I guess, and try to make it as positive as possible.
Suzy, I love your optimism. The other thing is, from this story called Nugget is Dead on Stan, is even though the families were dysfunctional, and I know some people struggle with terrible families and have horrible experiences, but the thing I got from it was learn to love, I suppose, the differences and the diversity in all your family members over Christmas. As hard as it might be, we can't all be the same, and I think just accepting that that uncle's weird is fine.
One thing I've loved in my annual visits to Singapore now is to kind of observe myself in them, like in the old, like my father who's older, and he's got children who are my half siblings who are very young, they're in their 20s. So I'm observing them, those two generations, and myself in the middle, and kind of drawing the similarities. And whether it's real or imagined, I'm looking, I'm a bit like that, I'm a bit like that, and then learning. It's almost like a process of self-acceptance and thinking, that's a bit weird, that's a bit funny, but actually I'm a lot like that. And that's fine. And it takes a lot of maturity to think that, I have these things that maybe 20 years ago I would have considered were flaws, but now it's much easier. Thankfully, it's much easier to think, I am a little bit quirky like that, and I do like that bit of self-acceptance that is able to come with maturity.
Suzy, a friend of mine did some work at my parents' house, and then I saw him, I caught up with him, and he goes, oh my God, you are your father. Your sense of everything. I thought it was you. I nearly died. I thought, oh my God, really?
I had
no idea.
I catch myself, like moments I'm thinking, that's a lot like my father, that's a lot like my mother, and it's almost nice now because I have so much distance with them. You know, my mother's not around, my father lives, you know, far away, and sometimes I get these moments of like transcendence almost. I feel like, oh, it's like this interesting connection that I kind of never expected, and I quite enjoy them now.
Suzy, I love chatting with you. What are we talking about next week?
Brilliant Minds, starring Zachary Quinto, has finally arrived in Australia, with the first couple of episodes streaming on Binge. It's a drama series about a gifted neurologist who applies his unconventional approach to treating puzzling psychological cases. That's Brilliant Minds for when I see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Suzy. And today we were talking about Nugget is Dead, which you can catch on Stan.